D-Smoke here. I just had a wonderful conversation with my man Nick from Hardknocktv. Y'all check in, stay tuned.
They thought a nigga left the hood and chose a different lane. I left the hood to rearrange how we approach the game. But that exposure got me feeling like the odds are stacked against us. Systematic oppression, we just servants indentured. Politicians retire while we work till we indentures. They kill our black heroes and then just give us one avenger.
Usually the first time I interview someone, my first question is if or when there's a movie about your life. You know, kind of like the opening scene kind of sets the tone for the movie, right? So the opening scene is kind of coming over Inglewood, panning into your childhood home. What are we seeing? What are we hearing? What are we smelling?
My childhood home. That's a complicated question because we moved a lot. So the place we ended up calling home is Park Circle. So on Park Circle, you're seeing green grass, you're seeing well-tailored lawns, you're seeing it's blue skies. We're in Inglewood. It's deceiving, you know. A lot of people see Inglewood because Inglewood don't look like, you know, no offense, but it don't look like the East Side, you know. But it got the same level of activity. So the feeling of walking through Inglewood for those who have had their share of encounters there is still that feeling of like, all right, I know where I'm at. Let me look over my shoulder. Despite you walking, you know, people still walk their dogs. The elderly community who doesn't kind of walk the streets the same way, they have this air of like safety and, you know, chill. But, you know, people who know about the element, they still are very aware of, you know, their surroundings, what, you know, the threat of danger, if you may. But you're seeing a beautiful sight. It's a beautiful place. You're smelling, you know, fresh air. Maybe some people baking in the neighborhood, you know, fresh cooked meals.
What are you hearing? What are the sounds that?
The sounds, we got our share of birds. We're hearing planes going over constantly. So we're right in that, in the lane between, you know, all the incoming planes fly over my house to get to LAX. So constantly, from time to time, you hear shots. You know what I'm saying? You know, I lived on Park Circle, so Park Circle is in the middle of the families in Inglewood. So, and the actual park, a lot of times the families would kick it out on the park. So, it looked like Christmas. You have the green grass and you have a little sea of red over in one section. So, so that was my little zone.
Do you remember your early music memories?
Absolutely. The first time I remember like doing music or preparing for a show, I must have been 5 years old. So my older brother, Davion, he sang "Oh Holy Night." He just had a solo, and then me and my brother, Sir, we both sang together. We sang "Go Tellin' on the Mountain," you know. And so we were little, and I just remember they taped it because after that, we just kept running the cassette tape back like, hey, we sang, and we had a recording of ourselves singing in church. But yeah, that was my earliest memory. And then around that time, what was common was us standing around the piano and my mom both showing us like basics of music theory, like this is middle C, and this is what it means to be sharp or flat, right? So she'd hit a note and we just have to match it, right? And then she'd jump to another note and we'd have to match it to find it. And then she'd...
With your voice.
With our voice,
Yeah.
exactly. So then she'd do a sequence of notes like dun 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 dun, and we'd be like da 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 da, you know. And it was 3 of us, and for me personally, like Davion, my older brother, he immediately took to singing. Sir just kind of wanted to escape and do his own thing all up until we were grown. He was like, man, I want to do me, you know, just because he has such a strong personality, and he could see that me and Dave had bought into music for ourselves, and he just always wanted to pave his own lane. It wasn't until we were writing songs for other people as adults that he came back around and was like, I want to do my thing, you know. But since Davion chose to sing, I was like, all right, I can sing as well, but this dude is, you know, he's running with it. His voice is brilliant. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna play piano too. So I took to the piano lessons in a different way. Like that was my lane, my thing as a kid.
How much did your mom's musical background and also the church and gospel really play into your development?
My mom's musical background was, for us, the start of everything. Like, of course, in my family, it doesn't begin with her. My grandmother is incredible. Like, to this day, she's 79 years old and can play and sing right now. But my mom, as a minister of music, she did it, you know, day in, day out. And every week we would see her do it in front of people. Right at home, she would practice, prepare for like choir rehearsal, Bible study, and then Sunday service. But to watch her do it when there's a room of like 500 people all following her every musical decision was just, it's overwhelming for like a little kid because she's brilliant, you know. And as a kid, it took me until I was about 7 years old to distinguish the difference between my mom and Whitney Houston. Like I thought, somewhere along the lines, I thought they were the same person. Like I would see Whitney Houston on TV and then I would see my mom sing and I'd be like, yep, that's her, you know. And so at some point, you know, and of course that's a hard, a harsh reality, you know, because her story, you know, I was watching it long before, you know, her dealing with drugs and all that stuff. And the irony of it is, before I could remember, my mom dealt with drugs, and her and my pops' story, you know, just before my memories start in life, she got clean, right? And pops went to jail, and then, you know, I'm watching her thrive, but then I start to see the whole Whitney Houston thing. So it's just interesting to think like, dang, that could have been, you know, my mom, you know, especially with me really as a kid thinking like, you know, my mom is Whitney Houston. You know, she got two names, Jackie and Whitney, you know. So.
You're four brothers, right?
Yes,
Mom's held it down.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. So mom has 3, pops has 4. Yeah. And mom raised 4. So, yeah. A lot of people think like teaching is super hard, and it's very hard. Let me not mistake it, but there are certain practices that make it manageable, and part of it is like setting the environment, right? And my mom was really good at that. Like you set a set of rules, you establish a set of rules that help everybody kind of play a role in maintaining that, versus trying to do everything individually with everybody. Like she was more strict on how we interacted with each other than she was on like, you know, other things. And she was strict in general, but it was that kind of balance of being loving and I expect this from you, whatever that may be.
Do you remember what moment in your life you're like, this is what I want to do? Like being an artist is what I want to do.
Before I said I want to be an artist, I said I wanted to be a classical pianist. That was at 6 years old.
Wow.
I'm entering the game at this level, like in the public sphere at a kind of a late stage, right? I have the benefit of having accomplished so much that I already set out to do. One, as a competitive person, I still have a chip on my shoulder, like, all right, they're gonna see some things from me. But it's not from that place of like, I don't have to prove it to myself. I've already proved it to myself, so much to myself. Like I said, I wanted to be a classical pianist. By the time I graduated high school, I had like won competitions and stuff. For me, the validation doesn't come from my whole income and career coming from it. It just comes from certain milestones being reached. So I did that. At 10 years old, I saw my uncle make a beat, and I was like, oh, I'm a producer. You know what I'm saying? Like, I used to bug him like, you know, let me make a beat on your stuff. Let me, you know, and he would let us, at 10 years old, he let me make a beat on his in-home studio. And I knew what sound modules he had, the Planet Fat, the MoFat, the MPC 3000, you know, and the Alesis Nano Synth, Nano Bass. And so when we were 13, he ended up giving us, so I say when we were because my age is the middle of the two brothers. You know, I'm 13, Sir is 12, Davion is 14, and Ron is 24, you know. But when I was 13, he gave us everything he had and got new equipment. So we had this whole studio at the house and we started producing. And, you know, by the time I was 19, I had a #1 hit, you know, on Billboard charts. And
that was Jaheim.
That was the Jaheim thing. Yeah, it was #1 on adult R&B. And it was, you know, like even between R&B and hip hop, it got up to like number 5 or something. Like at the time, it just had a lot of success, and it was a ballad, you know, a wedding song, so to speak. And I don't know if I ever said I want to be a rapper. And you know, I think my advantage, even on the show, is I think people look at me and they don't just see just a rapper.
Right.
You know, I love rap. I love music. But I think if you connect rap to the larger legacy of music, then you can do so much with rap. Like I told somebody, like, if you could rap well, you could write the shit out of a song, because rap has more words in it typically, you know.
Yep.
So you get, every time you write a rap song, you get more practice of playing around with these words and ideas. So then when you fall back to an R&B song, you can be poetic in different ways, because your muscles are up, you know. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I never said I want to be a rapper. I want to make music. I want to be impactful, you know, and rap was a better medium to me to really reach people, even the R&B, you know. I feel like people expect a certain thing from R&B, and it's changing and evolving. So I'm not going to say that it's limiting, but for me in particular, I think rap was the avenue to be all these other things all at the same time.
Take me through your creative process. Like when I talk to Chuck D, he's like, I think of the title first, because when I think of the title, it kind of gives me the structure of what the song's about. And Scarface said, for him, it's the first couple words, because the first couple words set the tone. Tory Lanez, when he came in here, he was saying that it's all about the melody for him. So he just tries to catch that pocket first, and he'll mumble it out before he even starts to fit in words into that. Do you have something that you kind of like go to, or is it just kind of depend on the circumstance?
Well, one, I like to stand up. Like, I like to be in motion. If I'm in a room writing, I don't like to be sitting down. I'll pace, like, you know, so I can feel it. I love writing on the freeway, because I feel like my mind is open, right? So I'll put on a beat, and I don't recommend this to nobody, you know what I'm saying? And so all of those things that you said happen. I love when it's like the first word, right? For example, the song I did as the finale for Rhythm and Flow, I had written the first line during the battle round, right? Like, and so my initial thought was, keep it 100, I be feeling like who's my competition? Like, I don't see it. Like, that was my idea. Who? Nobody. Like, ain't nobody here for me, you know. But I didn't use it those rounds. But, you know, I think in the same sense where you said, you know, I think Tory Lanez or who said that they like to pick the first words first, and that's what set the tone. Scarface. So it comes that way sometimes, and then other times it's that, you know, this is the concept and we're gonna shape it around that. My process takes on different forms, but I know I like to be in motion. You know, I love to wake up and write too. Like, sometimes I'll write video treatments coming out of my sleep. Like, I'll roll over and be like, boom, get it. Because it's just that I believe in, like, when you're out of that state, you're just accessing so much creativity and so much just infinite vision. You know what I'm saying? Just waking up fresh out of your sleep. And so many other artists have said the same thing about writing songs coming to them in their sleep. You know, my mom has this philosophy that songs are already written. Like, the greatest songs are already written. You're just accessing them. They're coming down, you know. So, and you know, Bruce Lee has that quote, like, be like water. Right. Water adjusts to the shape of the environment. Yep. You know, and if you allow yourself to just be open, and if you believe in, whether you're listening to a track or you're sitting in front of an instrument, you just believe in that moment, then some beautiful things happen, you know. So
as a society, a lot of times we don't tap into that, because the first thing we do when we wake up is we're turning on the phone, we're checking an email, we're giving other people that. Now we're in their worlds and we're in different energies, instead of, when I'm able to set that precedent of waking up and being creative, I feel a whole different energy through the day, because I feel tapped into whatever my energy is. But when I wake up and I'm like going through emails and texts, it automatically pulls you away from that. But when you talked about it, reminded me that as a creative, that the time right before you go to sleep and the time right when you wake up are like...
No, absolutely. It's that your body and mind are naturally kind of leaning to that state, right? Either you're just coming out of it or you're on your way into it,
Yep.
right? For example, my verse on Games album, I got to the studio probably at like 8 p.m. I didn't start recording until 1. And we listened to the entire album, which was necessary because I came in with an intention like, all right, Game album, I can't come weak. I got to bring it. You know what I'm saying? I was going to go in there and be like, Inglewood is harder than any other city in the world, you know? And then I listened to the album. I was like, okay, that energy is there. You know what I'm saying? So what am I going to contribute?
Right.
You know? And there was a lot of people in the room. It was probably like 30, 40 people when I first went in. And, you know, everybody's enjoying themselves playing the album. They already kind of celebrating because it's close to finished, right? I think I was the last song that made it. And it was only when things started to wind down and people started like, oh, gotta get out of here. You know, it got down to like 5 people left in the room. And even Game had left. He did that hook. He came up with the hook, did it. And then when I heard him doing the hook, I was like, I can do me on this, you know? So when he left, I just kind of vibed out. And that very energy that you're talking about, somewhere in between, I'm conscious enough to do some work and I'm close enough to being asleep that I can access all this boundless creativity, you know, that I have. So, and that's where those words come, you know. I think he tapped into that too because it was open. It was such an open-ended hook. It wasn't conclusive in what it was. They put a cross on Jesus' back and made him crawl till his knees was black. It just paints a picture, but everybody's left to interpret what that means for them, which I think is the best, you know, type of hook. So.
And then the other tangent that I was going to run with is where you talked about music coming through you. When I interviewed Chris Martin from Coldplay, he said that sometimes he doesn't even understand what is coming through him. He's like, sometimes it'll take me a week or 2 weeks to understand what I was trying to say because I just let it come out through me. And he was like, I didn't even know what it meant to me until later. But it's about having that honesty with yourself. Just put it down, create, and then figure out what the meaning is. And I was wondering if you had any kind of like experiences like that or.
Absolutely. I sat down with Genius, and that's a beautiful conversation in and of itself because it's similar to how you do. They pay such close attention to detail and they have their own hypotheses about where the lines come from, what they mean, what they're referencing. And on Last Supper off of the show, I said it's one queen and a few brothers, the Last Supper, right? So in my head, I'm like, you know, this is talking about, you know, that experience as the show, right? You got Cardi and Chance and Tip, people that we've interacted with week after week from 30 feet away most of the time. Like, I don't know if we even shook hands until the very end. And then you also have London B, me and the other contestants. So both on the side of the judges and the contestants, you got one, you know, woman representing, right? And so I was like, you know, that was my creative decision in the studio. Not realizing that the very next verse is like, taking them home. Like, this is me at 6 years old. This is my favorite dinner dish that my mom always made, you know, Campbell soup over white rice, baked chicken with the skin on, Lawry's with black pepper and fully seasoned with half the effort. Like, that's mom and her sons while Pops is in jail. So he was like, you know, I took it to mean mom and the 3 brothers. And then once I went back through it, I was like, it makes perfect sense, right. You know. Plenty times that happens. And that's why I don't mind lyrics that raise as much of a question as they do answer a question. Like, he had another interpretation of keeping 100, I be feeling like who, nobody. Like, you can take it as, who do I feel like? I don't feel like anybody else. I feel like myself, you know. Or it's that aggressive energy is like, who they got for me, where they at, you know, ain't nobody, you know. So it's both of those things. And I think that's what, you know, how many people sing along the songs that they don't even know the lyrics to, you know, Michael Jackson, it's people still, you know what I'm saying, and don't know it. But it's just that, you know, that dual meaning. I think that's a good thing.
Before we get to the show, take me back to the writing, because even through the writing, not only were you writing for yourself, but you also wrote for a bunch of different people. You mentioned Jaheim before. I think I read Genuine, Joe, Pussycat Dolls. Is your creative process any different when you're writing for yourself when you're writing for another artist?
I have a couple criteria that is the same, and then there's a little bit of like understanding the artist, not so much do what they've done, but understanding them and perhaps where they want to go, where they haven't gone. That goes into my process. For me, I think it's fully like it's freer, because I believe that if it comes while I'm just in that state of creating, then it must be something that I can stand behind and represent. Whereas for the other artists who have already done certain things in their career, it's a little bit more thought. But the starting point is the same, in that I start off with be memorable, and be memorable and be different, right? We got signed to Warner Chappell Publishing at a time where it was like there was a who's looking list that they're sending to all of these writing camps, and everybody's pitching for this handful of artists that are like these major artists on the labels. It's like, okay, Rihanna's looking right now, Beyonce's looking right now, Jaheim, and then a couple new artists here and there, but every Usher, you know what I'm saying? They were like pitch songs for Usher, Justin Bieber, and like now I wouldn't even subject myself to that. Like, I'm creative, and I'm dope. Here goes. You know what I'm saying? But as a youngster, kind of like, all right, so what? We could be the ones to win. You throw your, Hail Mary in the lottery, But I still knew, like, all right, if we do what they've done already, we'll not only be dismissed on this opportunity, we'll be looked at as those kind of writers. Like, here they go, right? And then if we sound like what everybody else is pitching, then we'll just get lost in the shuffle. I believe in play around, have some bad ideas in the process, and then I feel like if my ideas are getting shot down terribly, then I'm in the right direction. You know what I'm saying? Like, because if one of those happens to land, where it's like you go from being shot down terribly to hey, whoa, you know what I'm saying? That response changes, where if you're going from like, it's kind of cool to, yeah, kind of, then you're just in the wrong space, right? So I play around in those writing sessions till we get to something that's like that main concept. And my specialty was the hook because I was in a writing camp too. It was me, Tiffany Goucher, Davion Ferris, Sir, the homie Chiz, the homie Moses, That
was Woodworks?
It was Woodworks, so, that was my process, and it landed us some songs. I was, let me toot my own horn, goddamn it. I had a high percentage of placements, because ultimately, even if it didn't go for the artist that, I'm gonna go ahead and say a song never placed on the artist that we had it in mind for.
Wow.
Never.
Wow.
And I don't think no, once. But it's only because we were in the studio with the producer who was doing that project. But if we were just pitching songs, never placed. The only one that went to the artist we knew it was for is Genuine, because we were in the studio with Brian Michael Cox. Never, that Jaheim did, was for Usher. Take Over the World, that the Pussycat Dolls did, was for Usher. And they sent us the beat, like Usher chose this beat. Now we just need the hook to it. Buying out the bar, take over the club. I don't know what you got, so give it up. I was like, Usher gonna love this shit. You know what I'm saying? Then, they was like, yeah, it's cool. Then they kept playing it. Well, I mean, no, his feedback was like, yeah, I like it. Didn't hear back. They kept playing it for people because our management at the time was like, y'all nailed it. So we just gonna keep shopping. Next thing you know, the Pussycat Dolls was like, take it up a couple keys, switch the girls to boys, and a couple lyrics here to make it make sense. You know what I'm saying? And it went. I feel like that was a missed opportunity because they never made it a single. They never made it a video. It was on Dog Domination, and I was like, that's the hardest song on there. But, it is what it is. And then Joe, and his ended up being a single too. It was one of those sessions where, and I don't know if you heard the song with Joe, where it's, sure, baby, we could be friends, but where will that lead? It's like a two-step thing. Snow, dance, romance, like, right? So we were in the studio. We had that beat, which sound like a throwback kind of Michael Jackson, Grown and Sexy. And then you have this club banger, radio, big hit beat, and we have this big writing team. It's 4 or 5 of us. 2 of us, and I'm not gonna say no names. 2 of us was like, we gotta go with the big hit beat. This is gonna be the big one. And then me and somebody else were like, this shit got vibes in it, you know. So this is where we gonna go. They write this big, big record, and then we write that smooth shit. And it was really like a competition. Like, it's 2 rooms in the studio. Y'all go do what y'all gonna do. We over here, and and the other people, like our management, is gonna vote, and whichever, because we have that studio for the night. We're only demoing one of these. Right. Long story short, we come back together, and everybody was like, we need to hear this record. And my brother, who wrote with the other one, was like, oh, he was butthurt, and literally was like, hurry up and record, you know. And then afterwards, in a matter of weeks, you know, we didn't know who that was for, but Joe was like, yeah, we need that one. And it charted too, you know what I'm saying? And that's the part I'm proud of, because it was like, we're doing numbers, ignoring the trends in where music was at the time. Like, I'm a 19-year-old grown and sexy writer. Like, what is marriage songs and 2-step songs, you know what I'm saying? And
you're going to UCLA at this time, right?
And I'm in school.
You're in school
going to UCLA. So what I used to really do, I had a job where I was we had vans shuttling us to like high schools, tutoring there, shuttling us back, and then at night it's studio sessions. So all my study time, now if it was a test, I would be like, all right, finals, midterms, I'm not fucking with y'all right now, you know. But when there wasn't a test, my routine was I study early in the morning before class, so that I'm not just taking notes on some shit I don't understand. I'm retaining it because I'm like, yeah, I just saw some of this, right. You know. Then right after, I'm locking it in even further by like studying right then. And then because I ain't gonna have that time in the evening. But most sessions I would go in and be like, you know, for the Pussycat Dolls record, only thing I wrote on was the hook, right? Because I was like, we're going to get this started and I'm gone. You know what I'm saying? I drove to Inglewood for it. This was like a special assignment. Usher got the whole project done and he just needed a big single. It didn't even end up on him, but we like, all right, this is time sensitive. I drove down. We got the hook going. When we locked in the hook, tonight we going to take over the world. Like Chasing Cash, went nuts on the beat. And once the hook was done, I was like, we can't miss. Y'all do the verses and, you know, send me the splits. Now,
I also heard that some songs that you made didn't make the album.
Didn't make which album?
Well, Mary J. Blige, I think, was the example that I saw. Man. As an artist, when you write for yourself, you kind of know like where it's going. Sometimes when you write other songs for certain people and it doesn't get placed, you're also not getting that check.
Right.
So it's like, it's a double.
That one hurt. Not making the Mary album. I'm not gonna lie. And it didn't hurt just because we didn't make that Mary album. It hurt because early in the album, before they knew what the direction was, we pitched a song and they loved it. And it was called Stronger. And the lyrics were, I could stop a train if I want to. And can't a thing get in my way because I got you. And baby, we can rule the world because with you, I'm stronger. Stronger. I can tell the sun when to shine, but I wouldn't need to, cause baby, you're my light. Together we can rule the world, cause with you, I'm stronger, stronger. Right? So we wrote that. I did the beat. My cousin Tiffany Goucher demoed the shit out of it. Sent it to him. They was like, we love it. We got her in with this producer. We want to go back in on the beat and have her cut it. We like, cool. They give us another beat. We sent them a revised version of the song to this new beat, right? And then we hear she cut it. But we're new, so they're like, we're not sending out the records. We don't want them to leak. And so next thing you know, the project comes out, and to my understanding, I'm on it. And the project's called Stronger. Written by Tricky and a Dream. And to a whole nother beat. And I'm like, whoa, y'all know we put the song in there. You know, y'all know we was early. We didn't have any directive to write Stronger. We was like Stronger. Like, especially coming off of where she came from. Like, and so that was when we was like, y'all are interesting, you know. interesting to, because we not fools. We young, but we not fools. We pitch an incredible song and then it didn't do well, which is only further proof that you went about it the wrong way. You know what I'm saying? Coming off one of a huge successful project late in her career, that beat Cox did, and I can't be without you. She's poised to do incredible things, but a lot of times the politics, don't allow, because music is a living, breathing thing. If you exercise weed practices, you can't have, sequoia trees sprouting up. You know what I'm saying? So, not weed like marijuana, but like,
right.
I
got you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's also like Quincy says, it's like once the money comes in, the gods leave the room. And it's like once you stop thinking about the creativity and the art, and it's certain people have to get theirs because they're the bigger producers or they're the bigger A&Rs or whatever, and things start to move so that everybody can get their cut.
Mm-hmm. It messes it up. And that was a hard lesson, but my brother ended up working with her, and he was in the studio with her on had some placements with her, Davion, and that was beautiful. That was a whole phase in and of itself, and I decisively left that alone because I feel like it altered my process.
How so?
It takes you away from your own creative voice, because you spend a lot of time in that space of what do they want to say and what do the people like, whereas it's like, what do I want to say and what's true, you know what I'm saying? So when I got back to there, it took some unlearning creatively to even get to a space where it's like, oh, I feel this stuff and I'm proud to stand behind it and perform it live, and it was a process. 23, we were still considering, they were like, okay, we got a call to do a session over here. And it was just going to the sessions also felt different, because that energy of so they want something like this. And I just started getting tired of that. And I kind of borrowed, Tiffany Goucher was on that already. Tiff could show up to a session and not say a word, but she would show up as on some team shit, yeah, I'm with y'all, these my cousins. But really, her spirit and her personality is one that's that energy is whack. She's sensitive to that. And I don't know if it's because she lost her mom early in her high school years, to where she just didn't give a fuck. Tiff was not ambitious. I want $1 million off of music. She didn't give a shit. She's like, I want to do this because it keeps me alive. You know what I'm saying? So she had been in sessions early, man, fuck what they talking about. They weird. Where we no, Tiff, you got to learn and play by the rules and this and that. Then later I started to realize what it was doing to us as a team. And I was like, man, all this A&R and label energy that they kind of imposing on our process, it's some fuck shit. So then by the time I was 25, I was in full fucking mode. And me and my homie Chiz, rest in peace, we started a group called Park Circle, which is the street that I grew up on. And we was rapping, and it was basically us demonstrating to the rest of the team, look, man, we put together a project, and we gave ourselves a short deadline to do a project. We put together a project and get behind it. The hood will push us, and it'll just create a snowball effect. And we did exactly that. Our first project was called Colors of My City. Our release party of our first project, we packed out this probably 300, 400 cap place, but the energy was crazy. And so the internet picked up a little bit of that, and we was on a couple blogs back then and was working on our second project, and using money from ASCAP money from songs we placed to do videos and, do all kind of different stuff. So, but he ended up, he was sick with lymphoma. He had cancer. He was rapping in between chemo sessions and stuff. It got to a point where he couldn't keep a meal down, but he would spit verses and would send files when he was just in the house. I can't go outside, And
that reminds me of some Dilla shit.
It was very much like that, bro. And we lost one, you know what I'm saying? And so, but it was just that process of getting stubborn in a healthy way, you know what I'm saying? Because I feel like a true artist that's independent is gonna have to be able to look giants in the face and be like, man, fuck you. You know what I'm saying? kiss my goddamn ass, we going this way. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it was that process of realizing that you will be used, but not taken care of, not nurtured. Ain't no love in that system.
Right.
You know. So we was like, well shit, we could do it ourselves.